Okay, I'll go ahead and get going now. The agenda items for today are name changes, enhancement to org settings, enhancements for creating modules, enhancements to issues, new find and replace logic that we're adding, a new test steps page, and then I'll go through and do a demonstration of all of those features. First of all, we're making some name changes. So although I said last month that we were keeping the name scenarios, we've since then rethought that. Modules, just as a reminder, are replacing workflows so that anything that's a workflow today will be a module going forward. And it's a more accurate description of what they really are, which is pieces of workflows as opposed to an entire workflow. So as I said, scenarios are going to become scripts with two kinds. And what used to be called process is now going to be called scenario, and then the functional will remain called functional. So for org settings, we're making some changes, and I spoke to this last month, but I couldn't show it, and now I can. We're introducing what's called the issue priority matrix. So before, we had something called priority, and instead of having something called priority now, we're going to have impact and severity, and those two together will then identify the priority for an issue. So the impacts will be defined by you, or you can take our suggestion of extensive, large, limited, and localized. The severities, again, you can build your own, or you can take our suggestion of critical, high, medium, and low. And then priorities we're suggesting, again, you can call them anything you want. We're calling them P1, P2, P3, P4. And then I've added question. To be able to use question, a user would have to leave the impact and the severity blank, and then they'd be able to choose question. And then you build out your matrix. So, in this example for this organization, critical and extensive would be P1, critical and large would P1, critical and limited would be P2, and critical and localized would be P2, and so on. And so you build out your matrix like that, and I'll show you later when you're creating an issue, it will automatically default in for you based on what you built. So this is one thing that you will need to plan for the go live, is how you want to use this new functionality. The second thing, and I think this might make people extremely happy, is that we're finally giving everybody the ability to manage their own script detail names. Having said that, everything that's current in your environment will be brought across. So if you're currently using all of our header fields in your test scripts, they'll all come across exactly as they are today. But going forward, you have the ability to build any additional ones that you like. What I would suggest is if you build a new one and you think it's one that we should have, then just email support@makesolutionsInc.com, because we do build these into the global content. And so if you're wanting us to use a field that you think is important and we build it the same way you do, you'll be able to share it. So that's one of the things that you need to be cognizant of, is that you can change any of the ones we have. So say you didn't want to have patient last name, you wanted to call yours last name patient or something like that. You can do that, and there's nothing that we're going to do to stop you from doing that, but it'll make it less easy for you to use our global content. The other thing that's different in the scenario details is they automatically show in the test scripts now, and hopefully I'll remember to show that. So you don't have to toggle them on or toggle them off. They'll show as the bracketed name if they're in your script, and then if they're valued, the value will show right beside that. And I did show this briefly last time as well, but I'm going to show it again, which is that when you create modules now, so you've always in TransIT been able to go into a scenario and select a whole bunch of rows and right click and choose to create a workflow. Instead of that function now, when you right click, you'll be creating a module. And when you create a module, it's going to go ahead and it's going to suggest a name for you. So the thing about choosing the name is that that's sort of one of the things that has been the least satisfying to people over the years with TransIT, is number one, that when they upload content, it created a whole bunch of ZZZ tasks. So we've eliminated that with tasks going away. And the second thing was when they were trying to determine what to name their content, sort of, everybody had their own thought on how they should do it. So hopefully you can all see that I've put a poll in the chat, and hopefully what you'll do is fill out that poll before you leave today. Right now, we're thinking we're going to keep the existing naming convention, which is the noun, comma, verb with descriptors. And the reason we had that naming convention is because every task and every workflow and every scenario for that matter always had a description field. So you've always been able to say in English what the piece of content was, and the name of the actual task or workflow or scenario, now module and script, was just a way to group them together. So for example, a lot of people in their test scripts put regression in front of the name for all of their regression test scripts, and IT or integration in the front for all of their integration test scripts. And similar to that, we had a naming convention for the content, which was noun, comma, verb. So the reason it wasn't an English sentence is because the English sentence already existed in the description. But we will be going through and looking at the responses today. So I've suggested two things. One is keeping the existing naming convention. The second is going to more of a sentence structure. And the third would be if there's a naming convention that your organization is using that you would like us to consider, then please just email that to us separately, and we'll consider that as well. But in the meantime, we would really appreciate if everyone would participate in that poll. So this, I think, is going to make people happy, is we've added the ability to actually cut and paste screenshots. You'll still be able to do file attachments. So if you wanted to attach a Excel spreadsheet that was outside of the test steps, or if you wanted to attach a policy and procedure document or any of those things, you'll still be able to attach. But if somebody's got an error message that they want to take a quick screenshot of and attach that to the test step, they'll now be able to do that as well. We're introducing some find and replace logic. Right now it's at the first step, which is that you can actually do a find and replace. So in the modules and in the scripts, there's a search box, and when you type information into that search box, it looks inside of that module or inside of those scripts and finds any modules or scripts that contain that whatever you've typed in. And then when you've done that, you have the ability to highlight one or more of those selected modules or scripts and do a real find and replace with it. What isn't available in this first release is the ability to sort of preview what's inside there. So we're still at the point where in doing this, you might need to have two screens open, but I'll be able to show this functionality as well. The next thing that I think is a little bit exciting is the new test steps page. And the reason it's exciting is because more things are face up in it. So you can see here that there's a pass icon, and this is the flag icon, and this is the skip. If you want to add a test note, it's this icon. If you want to add an issue, it's this icon. And then I'll show you in the demo when you use those icons, the actual link to the note or the link to the issue will be here in this column. And so you can have as many notes and as many issues attached to a specific test step as you like. The only things that the right click is used for is if you want to select multiple rows, or if you need to reset the status, or if you need to link or unlink issues. So those are all the things that I'm going to go and demo now, unless anybody has any questions before I get into the demo.
Hi, Patty, it's Christina.
Hello.
Quick question. I think I missed a little bit of what you were saying about the naming and the poll. First of all, I don't see a poll in the chat.
Maybe because I posted it before.
Before I logged in, maybe?
Yeah, maybe I have to repost it for everybody.
Patty, I'm able to see it, but there's a icon at the top. It's called polls, at least when I use my version of Teams. So you've got people and React and View and some icons along the top, and then I have a polls button. So I'm seeing at least. So it's not under the chat, it's under a polls icon.
Okay. Do you see that icon at the top, Christina?
I don't. I'm in the web version. So that might be a limitation.
I think that's
Okay,
fine,
sorry, it's
yeah.
the first time I've used polls in this, so. So,
I'll
I'll
do
send
some
you,
research to see if I can find where it is.
okay, and then
Okay,
I'll
but-
send you, Christina, afterwards, I'll just send you what's the straight text is in it, and so that you can vote, okay?
Yeah, and so, but my question is, what are we voting on? Are we voting on, I heard your thing about the naming conventions, but are we voting on like how this will be migrated? Is that?
No.
Oh,
So,
oh.
no, voting on whether or not you want us to go with a new naming convention going forward. And if you do, then I am going to look into whether or not we'd be able to convert all of the names of the things that we created. So anything under 100,000, if we'd be able to convert those names as part of the conversion, we wouldn't touch your names.
Okay, so if we created our own custom workflows and we named them in some way that we decided, you wouldn't be touching those.
Correct, because those would all
Okay.
be over 100,000. Yep.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, but if there's something about your naming convention that you think is awesome and it's not the two suggestions that we made, then for sure email it to me and we'll consider that when we're considering the other ones. Does that make more sense now?
Yes. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so at the top then, we already talked about the naming changes. So the next thing then is the org settings. So there's nothing magic about any of these, right? It's the impact. And like I said, these are what we've built for impact. And so you can just go in and add your impacts, or you can use, potentially this is sort of the verbiage you had for your priorities. And so you might want to bring that across into the impact category. And then there's the severity category. And again, we've chosen critical, high, medium, low. You can choose whatever you want, but this is sort of the next step is you build your severity. So your impact and your severity, and then you're going to go out and build your priority. So it's all to get to the org settings. I'm sorry, I should have said there's a new organization icon. So to get to the org settings, you just click this icon here. And then, you can see I've already turned one off, but we're going with P1, 2, 3, and 4 internally at make, and then we've added question. And so after you've built those three, you then need to build the matrix. And the matrix is saying how you want to map your priorities. So, you could make it mirror whatever you're doing in your external issue tracking system, or you can make it completely different for TransIT. It really doesn't impact any other client how you choose to set up your org settings. Does anyone have a question on this? Okay, then the next thing is the script details. So again, to get to the org settings, you just click this icon here. And then we have now script detail names. And so again, all of the ones that are currently available that we've created over the years are automatically available to you. And then if you want to add one, you're just going to click this add script detail. You're going to give it a name. You can describe it down here and say what it's used for. And I wasn't aware that this feature is available now. So what you're going to be able to do is go in and pick things that are default selections, and anything that you choose as a default selection will automatically get created when you create a scenario. So if you're doing, a whole bunch of integration test scripts and you're using appointments, multiple appointments in the scripts, you can turn that on and it'll turn on the first instance of it. So that would be what this selection's for, and then just click save. And so that's going to create your item and mark it as a default selection. Okay, any questions on that? The next thing that I'm going to show is creating modules. So if I go into, for example, this functional test script, which is a RadNet test script. And if I highlight these rows here that are for DOE, and then right click, when I say create module, what's going to happen is AI is going to go out and come up with a name. So this is why it's important for you to vote on the naming convention, because what it's going to name it as now is going to be our noun, comma, verb with additional descriptors in brackets. It's supposed to default in it, so that will, before we go live, that will be automatically defaulting into the vendor. And so when I click save here, it's now created a module, and this is the name of the module. So again, you can go through and, select whatever seems to be appropriate for a specific module, and it's again going to come up with a name. So this is a nurse entering radiology orders through PowerChart. So it does a pretty decent name of naming with this naming convention, but since it's AI, if you guys tell me you want the name to be something different, like if we all vote and we'll sort of go with majority rules. And so if people are comfortable with this naming convention, because we've been using it for so long, we'll keep it. Or if you'd want it to be more friendly and more sentence-like, then we can change to that as well. What I would say is, what Christina pointed out is, if we do change the naming convention, we're only going to be touching things that are 100,000 and less. So we're only going to be touching things that we created through Make Solutions. Does anybody have any questions on that? So it does a pretty decent job of reading through the actions and outcomes and coming up with the what I would consider to be the appropriate thing. It works. So this is a functional test script, obviously, but it also works in the scenario-based test scripts. So if you are taking content from one of your vendors from Excel and uploading it to TransIT and not loving all your ZZ tasks, the ZZ tasks are never going to exist anymore. Your functional test script will exist. And once you've got that functional, or if you upload your integration test scripts, once you've got that test script uploaded, the next thing to do is to go through and identify the modules in it so that they then become reusable content.
Patty, it's Christy. Can I ask a question?
Yep.
If there's something about the name that it gives it, so this order entry, power chart orders, radiology, can that be edited?
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. I should have said that. So down here, if we go to the next one and we right click and we choose create module, and it comes up with the appointment, schedule, and check-in. If I didn't want it to have the check-in there, all I have to do is take this out. And then, I might not like something else. So whatever well, maybe I want it to say shop book in there, but whatever, I can edit and I click save and it's going to keep whatever I saved. Where that also is important is if you had multiple workflows that were similar. So say you had one for each of your registration conversations and say it was suggesting the same name for each, you could highlight it, which conversation is, you could just pop the conversation name into the descriptors into the brackets and you'd be good to go. Any other questions on that? Okay, so I will then go over to, and I don't know if I have it set up, it doesn't look like I do. I'll go to testing and show the new test steps page. So if we go inside and look at the test steps page, like I said, I feel it's much easier to understand. We don't currently have hover text over this one. We'll put hover text here to say fail or flag and here to say skip. But again, as soon as you pass a step, it turns to that icon. If you fail, it turns to that icon. If you then want to, add a note, you click here to add a note. It pops open the note. And you can save it. If I go inside, let me log an issue here too. So if I wanted to log an issue against the same one, So once you've created the issue, because it refreshed the screen, they've gone off the screen now. So if I go to my if I go to my issues, oh, it was there. So if I go in here and I wanted to update an issue now, I can click the issue name. And then if I wanted to put in a screenshot, all I have to do is take that screenshot, enter the box here, paste it in, save it, and it adds to the bottom of my list here. So much easier than before when you couldn't do screenshots. Here it does also show if you have attachments. So if you had an Excel spreadsheet, they would all show here. If I want to add another attachment, I click here and I choose whatever I want, just like before. Okay, not sure why it's not attaching now. Then the last thing is the find and replace. So if I go to modules and say I wanted to look for something where they were clicking the green check mark, I put it in this search box up here and it filters to everything that has that in it. I can select all, or I can select a few. So say I wanted to select this one and this one and this one, and I wanted to find and replace, and I wanted to change green to yellow. I can choose to match case or not and do replace all, and it's going to do the replacement. So then if I go and look for those yellow ones, apparently I've done this demo more than once. If I want to change those all back to green, it then changes them back. So now nothing's qualifying under here, and those ones would be showing again. So again, I know that like there was no ability to easily see what was inside those to see what it was you were selecting, but that will be there either before go live or shortly thereafter. So I think those were all of the things that I had intended to show. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've seen? So I'll just remind everyone then that at the time that we're ready to release the software, we will be doing 3 different sets of classes. There will be admin training, so to go over all the new org settings, etc. Testing to go over all of the changes with modules and scripts, etc. And then another one to go over all the changes with plans. And what we intend to do is offer sort of 3 of each of the sessions and to tape them. So we're trying as much as possible to make everything very, very self-evident so that, you know, even if you can't attend those classes, you won't be lost. You know, the test steps page looks enough like it did before that it's not like you're going to have to retrain all of the people who assist you with testing. It's maybe 2 minutes at the beginning of a testing session to go over what's new. So hopefully anybody who didn't join from a browser can see the poll in the polls at the top as Brian suggested, and hopefully everyone will answer that poll question before they leave. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've shown?
I'll ask this one. Do we have a sense of when it might be released?
I mean, we were really hoping for Thanksgiving when everybody would be down, but it doesn't look like it's going to be then. We're wanting to get it out the door as soon as possible because there are so many better features in TransIT 7, but obviously we can't have it be that there's major showstopper issues left. So we will keep everybody as informed as possible. You know, and when we're down to our what we think is as showstoppers, and we may even reach out to a few of you to ask, you know, to give you a test sign on in that domain to ask you to plug away and see if you've noticed anything. We're going to be running the data conversion at least once more before we go live. So we might ask everyone just to take a quick peek at their own data. to confirm we haven't missed anything. So we definitely will be reaching out. We definitely will keep everyone informed, but we're pretty excited about the new version. Does anyone else have any questions?
I guess just, you don't really have a date yet.
No.
To clarify
We're
on
trying
your
really
question.
hard. We're trying to have it be really soon. Because like I said,
Okay.
it really helps, like with it really gets rid of a lot of the things that have been holding people back, right? People hated uploading because they hated all those EZZ transactions that they had to name. You don't have to do that anymore. So if you throw a workflow into a scenario, and I know you weren't able to join last time, Christina, but if you throw a workflow into a test script and you just want to change one line, you just go and insert that one line. So you're not tied to the content the way you used to be. So we
I
really,
watched the recording. And
did you?
I was very excited. Yeah, I was not in the office at the time last month. I
Yeah.
couldn't be here at that time, but I did watch it later in the day. And yeah, I'm very excited. So
Yeah, so are we. Does anybody else have any questions? Thank you all for your time and make sure you vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.